What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for December 22nd, 2022. We're just 2 days away from the big game for the Eagles, 3 days for Christmas. But before we get into anything, I just want to take a minute and just sad news from the NFL world yesterday. Franco Harris passed away. Um, while this is a Philly based podcast, I did want to mention it only because, one, I work with a lot of people from Pittsburgh, and I know how much Franco Harris means to the city, meant to the city. They have a statue up in the airport where, as soon as anybody comes into Pittsburgh, there's Franco Harris with the Immaculate Reception. Family members who are Steelers fans. So I just know how much meant to them. So rest in peace to Franco Harris. Never really knew much about him growing up in the sense that obviously it's a Pittsburgh versus Philly thing. But the fact that I was able to, where we grew up, get both the Pittsburgh feed as well as the Philadelphia feed, did get to watch a lot of Steelers games as a kid. So just knowing a lot of the history of the Steelers from the 70s and all that, and just knowing how much they meant, or he meant to that city and that team. And unfortunately, ironically, however you want to kind of describe it, they were going to retire his number, and the Steelers don't retire numbers this weekend. So what was going to be more of a celebration is kind of turning into more of like a memorial remembrance thing. So condolences to the Harris family. Much love to my Steeler brethren. Thinking about you guys today. Quick Sixers update. They won 113-93. I believe that is their now seventh in a row, which they are kind of peaking at the right time. This is around the time that you want to start playing well. It's heading into trade talk season. The trade deadline is looming not long after we come back from the New Year break. So they're getting it together. They got Tyrese coming back, which is good. And listening to the broadcast last night, a good point was brought up by Ala, and he was just saying about how good those bench players are going to have gotten because they had to fill in when Tyrese was out, when James was out. And the fact now that, yes, they're back to being on the bench. However, just the experience like Melton has made, Shake Milton, all those guys stepping into those roles and being able to really play with Joel and play just against a higher level of competition, they're going to be better. So I think all of this, and I hate to admit it, but it's kind of coming together at the right time. So more on that. I'm excited to watch the game on Christmas Day at noon. So things are looking good at Sixers land. We'll take it. Flyers matinee today. They play at 2 up in Toronto. I don't know if that's a Canadian thing or what, but little afternoon hockey action today. Gardner Minshew had a good day at practice yesterday, according to his teammates. Obviously, they're not going to say he had a bad day. However, you could kind of just see you can tell when somebody's just BSing you, giving you the company line, and when they're truly buying into whatever they're saying. And I feel as though the players that were talking about how he practiced, they were definitely on board with it and definitely felt that he played well. They're confident. Goddard's coming back. And again, it is like Jalen Hurts missing from that offense. I've been saying all week it's a huge loss, but it's not like you're going from Jalen Hurts down to me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going in there and playing quarterback. Minshew is an adequate backup. He is what he is. However, I think in the pyramid of backups, he's closer to the top, I would say, than he is the bottom. He has starting experience. He has come in and won with this Eagles team. And as long as the defense plays well, and again, I think lost in all of this is the fact that the Cowboys have not been playing well their last 5 games. Dak has been a turnover machine. I think he has, and I could be way off base with this, but I saw a stat, and I should have jotted it down, but something with his interception rate is like among the highest in the league or something. Like it's not like they're world beaters. There's also a virus going around, but I mean, like I said, I don't expect this to be a blowout either way. But I think the Eagles are right there in it. And as we get closer and I make the pick on Saturday morning, I might be taking, depending on what the spread is. Like, I like the Eagles plus the points. So, but we'll get more into that on Saturday. But this day in Philly sports history, December 22nd, we're going to go back to 2014. And I definitely was tough on the Temple Owls basketball team yesterday. And I think justifiably so. I'm not even going to sit there and try to say I wasn't. But I'm going to try to give you a little bit of a positive spin on Temple basketball. So this day in 2014, the 7-4 Temple Owls took on the number 10 and 9-1 Kansas Jayhawks down at the Wells Fargo Center. And leading into this game, Temple had lost previously to Duke, who was number 4. They lost to Villanova, who was number 7, by a combined 21.5 points. So not necessarily not inspiring confidence going into a game against a national powerhouse, one of the blue bloods of NCAA basketball. But funny thing happened along the way. Temple played great defense. It was a Christmas miracle, and they held Kansas to 32% shooting. They only hit 60% of their free throws, but they didn't go to the line that much anyway. Temple themselves shot 58 points. Will Cummings had 19, Quenton DeCosey 18, and Jesse Morgan 17. There's some blast from Fran Dunphy's pass. But they beat the Kansas Jayhawks 77-52, avenging a loss from, I think it was like 4 years prior, where Kansas came into the Liacouras Center and just blew the doors off. With both teams, I believe, were ranked in the top 20 at that time. And again, this was back when Temple was actually a solid and decent basketball team. But it was like the sixth time out of 7 years that they had beaten a top 10 team. One of the bigger wins, I would think, in franchise history, when they beat Duke down at the Wells Fargo Center. That was a good one. They beat North Carolina back in the 80s. So there some big wins in Temple basketball history. I mean, they're number 5 all time with wins. But for me, this is it's the only time they beat Kansas, and it was definitely, I remember being a fun game to watch and just not expecting a lot. And then to see the way they came out and played kind of gave high hopes, because that was a season where they had a lot of potential and they were just waiting to kind of put it together. So this was the time we're like, wow, going into the AAC conference play, you're looking good. And they had beaten the number 10 team in the country. It was a good win for March Madness. However, they wouldn't make the tournament that year. They would go to the NIT, make it to the semifinals, which I think they lost to University of Miami that year in the semifinals. And I think they won the third place game, because the NIT does the third place. I don't know off the top of my head. I can double check and I'll let you guys know tomorrow. But the following season is when it all started to click for them. They won the AAC regular season title, then lost, I believe, in the first round of the AAC tournament. And, of course, one and done Dunphy had them lose in the first round that year. But they did make the tournament that next year. And unfortunately, I'm going to go back to being tough on them this year. It does not look like that's in the cards this year unless there's another miracle run through the AAC, but at least we have our memories. I'm going to be recording a Back to the Future tonight, kind of a Christmas little special, so be on the lookout for that either later tonight or tomorrow. But this day in Philly sports history, December 22nd in 2014, the Owls beat the Kansas Jayhawks 77-52 down at the Wells Fargo Center. Kansas was number 10, probably one of the best wins we've had in the past 15, 20 years. So go have yourselves a Thursday. If you're traveling, be safe with all the storms going around. It's going to be very rainy and cold in the Philly area. Have yourselves a Thursday, and until next time, I'll see you when I see you.